Welcome. Webinar will start in a minute. Please wait. Hello, hi, and welcome everyone. Welcome to Explore Disciplined Agile in 3 webinars. This is webinar 1, Disciplined Agile in a nutshell. And I am Dario Morandotti and will be your host for today. So this set comprise 3 webinars. The first one is today, which is a Disciplined Agile in a nutshell with myself, Fabio Rigamonti and Jerry Schneider. The second one will be broadcast on the 25th of June. And again, Fabio, Genevieve Klein, and Andy Burns on the experience from the field. The third one will be a question-answer session with the founder, Scott Ambler, conducted by myself and Fabio on the 2nd of July. The purpose of the webinars is really to serve as an introduction for beginner agilists and interested people. They are meant to raise awareness and interest from you and perhaps make the decision to become certified or simply have an interest. So expect to hear from some foundational aspect of Disciplined Agile to more practical cases, particularly in the second webinar. The final open question and answer session will be handled at the end. And notice the 3 webinars are in fact pre-recorded just few days before the actual broadcast. This will allow in the future to broadcast again the 3 webinars, but of course there is no live interaction during the broadcast. So we decided the participant can ask question anytime, writing to an email address that you see on the screen, dacc@pmi-nic.org, within the date of 28th of June. This is the email address of the Disciplined Agile chapter champion of PMI NIC. So all the questions collected within the 28th of June will be presented to Scott Ambler, and we will record the 3rd webinar, such that will be broadcasted on the 2nd of July. And that will be totally dedicated to answer those questions that can be anything from the foundation of Disciplined Agile to practical cases to certification or even more technical question if you wish. Okay, your speaker for today. We have Jerry Schneider, which is a DA champion for PMI funds. He's a certified senior project manager and agile coach. He served 6 years in the chapter board. Then Fabio Rigamonti, which is the champion for the Northern Italy chapter. In the life, it's also senior AP project manager and member of the PMI Ethic Insight team. And myself, I'm an outreach director at the Northern Italy chapter. That means I'm in charge of the relationship between the chapter and external organizations in the project management arena or in the government or university and local industrial association. I'm a consultant and program lead in innovation and new product development, and particularly in digital engineering and PLM, and also project program management. The second webinar will have Fabio hosting for Jean-Yves Klein, which is also another champion for France chapter and an agile coach in different frameworks. It's also co-creator of the serious game and the legal for DevOps. And we have as a champion of the Southwest Ohio chapter, Andy Burns, which is Chief Scrum Master and expert in different frameworks like Scaled, Agile, Safe. He's also keynote speaker. As said before, the last webinar will be primarily with Scott Ambler, which is the Vice President at PMI Institute, a co-founder of Disciplined Agile. He's also a creator of different modeling and data management technique. Okay, so we can start with the webinar one, Disciplined Agile in a nutshell. So why Disciplined Agile? What does it have to offer and why is so interesting? We can recognize in our working life, there are different projects and with different teams, different approaches and different leadership styles. So there are actually many ways of working and many patterns that go from nothing to emerging practice and to good practices. Discipline and Agile offer a toolkit and then an approach for better optimize the Agile team, first point, extend agility to the entire organization, not only to few teams. And the third aspect is accelerate value delivery in scaled situation and cases. But it also offers Disciplined Agile a continued improvement in guided continuous improvement, which makes it very particular among the various toolkit and frameworks. So the PMI NIC has developed a sort of navigational map to go through the Agile toolkit in one page. It's not my intention, of course, to go in full detail of this map that is offered to you as an attachment to the presentation of today. But it's sort of, yes, like a geography map of the world, which say, okay, we are here, we're going to be there, just to have everything in one page. My colleagues, Fabio and Jerry, will go in detail in many of these aspects, so I'm not spending much time here, just to remind to you that the starting point is that to be agile and do agile, and there is something, there are challenges we face, there are also strengths in our favor. And the overall path within the toolkit is to go to understand from philosophy and from concept, from principle, how to use the paradigm of principle, promises, and guidelines that Jerry will explain more in detail, down to process goals and life cycle, and to the end, which the minimum valuable product or minimum business increment, if you wish. And Fabio will explain more in detail also the path to certification. So I don't want to take more time, and will leave to my colleagues the remaining part of the presentation. But I have to maybe to add few information for you. The first of all, of course, the book, the handbook, Choose Your Wow, can be both on the Amazon or can be down in other websites, and downloaded also that PMI websites as a PDF. Another option is another good starting point is to really visit the PMI.org Disciplined Agile website, where you can find some starting suggestion and primers, and also a dedicated page on tools that support Disciplined Agile. It's a very comprehensive set of pages under the PMI.org, and I really recommend to you. Last point, remind for questions that may arise today or anytime or during the next webinar. I will leave this address to you. Okay, let's shift to Jerry, the presentation. I will make it presenter.
Thank you, Dario. I'm going to present today what Disciplined Agile is, and I try to do that, I would say, quite shortly. It's basically a toolkit that gives you choices. It's not a framework that decides for you. That's the first key point. And this toolkit has a rich body of knowledge that will provide to your organization across all different departments, IT operation, portfolio security, finance, a set of goals, and as well maps to how to achieve these goals. For so doing, as Dario explained just before, there is the guide that is called Choose Your Wow. Choose your way of working, because again, it is here about letting your organization, letting you decide what is your need, depending on what your goal is. And so this starts with a set of principles, actually 8 in a new version, we'll see that. And these principles, if we just remind what were the 4 values of agility initially, just quickly: individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. This was new 20 years ago. Today, this is not enough. Today, this is good and even excellent for a development team. We have used that already quite for some time, but we found out that these teams needed to be integrated with the rest of the organization. And so these values needed to be enriched to encompass all the organizations. So the first value of the Disciplined Agile we have is delight customers. Delighting customers means basically deliver what they need, being a service, being a product, not only a software, of course, being a transformation of the organization, possibly. That's really the first value that is at the core of all what we'll do after. The value of that is to be awesome. What is that, to be awesome? Basically, it's that all the team members will be reliable, they will be honest, they will be ethical, they will be willing to collaborate, to share the information, make things so that it works being in this team. Then the next value is the pragmatism. Being pragmatic is basically knowing what we have to deal with. If we go back to initial Scrum, we had some constraints saying it should be a team of 5 to 9 people maximum, co-located, etc. Today, when we extend agility to the overall organization, we can't just say that, we can't just ask for that to an organization. So let's take that into account. And then we have the context that counts. The context counts because the size of the organization, just what we said, because the culture of the organization, is it industrial? Is it in the service? Is it a new company? Does this company have a very, very old, long history, and that we need to take into account? All this counts, and as well, the team counts for these factors as well. So, for example, which skills we have, what is nature of the problem that we want to solve, etc., etc. So then comes that choice is good, because we see that we have different type of environment that we have to work with, and Disciplined Agile really tells us that there is no one fits for all. There is always decision we have to take to achieve the goals that we have decided to reach. And so at this stage, we need to optimize the flow. What is that optimize the flow? And here I will stop a bit because we say agile, and we know as well that in the past we tend to say that there was an uncle of Scrum. He was called Lean. The Lean principles that came from mostly manufacturing was about eliminating the waste, building quality, and creating knowledge, delivering quickly and differing commitment, but as well already respecting people and optimizing the whole. So this optimization is not new. The thing is that what we want is to avoid that we lose time between decisions. We want to measure what counts, and we want to deliver small batches. We want to avoid delays, and we want to improve continuously. All this will do it with this value. And of course, on top of that, we have the awareness of the organization. The organization is what is structuring us. And when we say we are disciplined, it's because we belong to this organization. So I don't want to avoid the eighth value we have, that is organized around products and services. So a long time ago, we had silo organization, functional organizations, then we had project organization, and project organization, PMI can say it, made a tremendous progress for companies. Today, what we want is go beyond that and organize around the products, around services. So I spent some time about on these principles, because that explains why we will have after these promises, these guidelines, and the structure of the Disciplined Agile around these life cycles and the process goals with the outcomes for the periods of the project. So quickly, if we talk about the promises, we have the need to create safety and diversity. Yes, that's how we can be awesome. How we can have a team working efficiently. Accelerate the value realization. Yes, that's how we are going to delight the customer. We have collaborate proactively, make work visible by the team members in the team, but as well, because it's not only a team like we would do with Scrum initially, it's work across the overall organization. Our work must be visible and understood outside our team to the other parts of the program and overall the organization. Improve the productivity is another promise, and this one is more about how we want to make sure that people can rely on our team. So, for example, within our team, it's maybe the focus on helping our team members, but with our customers, stakeholders, sorry, it may be to make sure that we have a stronger relationship so that they have what they need, and as well so that they do what is needed, and across the boundaries of the organization as well, make sure that this is shared. So as you see, these promises with keep workloads within capacity, that is to keep the team members able to fulfill their work on long term and improve continuously. That is the last but not least, the last promise that we'll see at the end of this presentation. So these come with guidelines, validate learnings, apply design thinking techniques to be able to find ideas and apply them and structure them to offer a solution. Attend to the relationship through the value stream, create effective environment that foster joy, change the culture for improving the system, create semi-autonomous self-organizing teams. And this one is important because, again, in Scrum, we had already a self-organizing team. But here, it's across the whole organization. Means we need to be disciplined. And so we have this semi-autonomy where inside the team, decision can be made, but at the condition that they remain consistent with what is done across the program and the organization. And then adopt measures to improve outcomes, leverage, enhance organization assets. We see here that we reuse. We don't create from scratch. And again, we'll see that when we discuss how the organization adopt Disciplined Agile. So I spent some time on these values, and now just a quick word about what is Disciplined Agile versus classic project management. It is an agile approach, so it's not a waterfall cascade, but why there is no intention to merge Disciplined Agile with the PM book, there are many common overlaps between these. Example is risk management, governance, guidance, etc. And many of techniques that we have in PM book can be useful for Disciplined Agile. Disciplined Agile is with 4 views. So the first one is the mindset. So we have seen the principles and guidelines. Now we are going to talk about the people, who they are, their roles, the responsibilities, and then we'll see the life cycles and the workflows, and then the goal diagrams with the process goals. So the roles in Disciplined Agile, we have a team lead. This one is an agile process expert. He is, we say very often, kind of servant leader, means that he shares a vision with the team. He will remove roadblockers, whatever prevents the team members to do their job. He will be here to help them go beyond them. He will protect them from useless interruption, unnecessary interruptions. Means that if someone needs someone of the team, especially some people are very skilled and they are shared with other teams sometime. Of course, that happens in all organizations. Then the team lead will be in charge of preventing unnecessary interruption of this person. And the last one, we call that bring food and drinks, and he will provide the team with what is needed for them doing their job. With him works the product owner. We know the product owner from Scrum as well. He owns the product vision. He set the priorities about what will be the scope and what will be in the iterations of the product. But we have as well an architecture owner. This one is the expert, the technical expert, the one who will help the team make the right choices, technically speaking. So this one is very important because he will ensure, and we'll see in the process goals after how his role important is, because he will ensure that technically the product is well thought. Then the team member, of course, they are cross-functional, of course. They are, we call general specialists. They have a specialty, and beyond that, they have other skills that can make the bridge with the skills of other specialists and other team members. And then all the stakeholders that can be subject matter expert, they can be specialists, they can be technical experts, for example, specialists of the field. If we are working with a special industry, he will have knowledge of this industry. And these are very important to make sure that we make the right choice. Very often they are brought in by the product owner, but not only. And we have the other stakeholders of the company, as usually finance, etc., human resources, and so. So these are the roles. And Disciplined Agile is making profit of all what has been done in the past, being rational unified process, agile modeling, Scrum, Kanban, Lean, we mentioned them, DevOps, and so on, even extreme programming. And we have said initially that Disciplined Agile is complementary with SAFe. It's good to start with SAFe sometime maybe, and then Disciplined Agile can bring more about what the organization needs. So we need to be agile to interact with others. Yes, we have our development cycle, okay, but we are part of the overall organization. This organization has people management, we mentioned finance, but there's IT operation, there is as well marketing, procurement, and so on. And so this is where we have with Disciplined Agile a solution, a way to address the agility across the organization. And this comes with what we have said initially, the principles, the promises, the guidelines, and we'll see the life cycles we can use, and the rules, and then the way of working. So the structure of Disciplined Agile for that is that we have Disciplined Agile delivery and security, data management, support, IT operation. All these make the Disciplined Agile DevOps, means we develop and we deploy, we operate the solution. This comes with the rest of the organization that we'll need, that is the portfolio management, product management, etc., etc. And these ones have a direct impact on what we do with our team for the service or the product. And above this, then we could say the third stage of the rocket is the Disciplined Agile enterprise, where we have people management, we have finance, legal, etc., etc. And the process goals will help us define objectives that each of these parts of the organization will, in a consistent way, be able to define and work on to achieve. So let's take an example of process goal. If we are in the inception phase of our cycle, we will, for example, explore the scope. To explore the scope, there are many different options that we could take, different set of activities, and this is where the choice is good. This is where the choice counts. So for example, if we want to explore the goal, we may want to explore the usage. And explore the usage can be done with different options. And these options, we don't always have one that is better than another one. And if we want to, for example, use scenario, that means that we're going to describe step by step what the user will do in a specific situation and what will do the different actors of this scenario in order to obtain the desired outcome. And for so doing, we'll define acceptance criteria, etc. Another example is to decide to go with a persona. And persona is description of fictional people that are stakeholders, maybe user, and this, by describing them, we will understand better what is good for the client. Remember the first principle, okay, delighted customer. This is really how we have different options that we can use to achieve that. So now that we have our goals, what we have to decide is how we are going to work to put these goals into action. And as opposed to the original Scrum methodology, Digital Agile proposes different life cycles to answer the different kind of projects for products, services that the team has and that the organization with different teams will have. There is Agile life cycle for delivering a product or service that we can build incrementally. That's basically more or less the Scrum, Then we have the continuous delivery Agile, but we have as well lean-based life cycles that are more Kanban based way of working, and as well exploratory that we'll see, and program that are again different. So these ones, if we take the example of the Agile life cycle, again, we recognize here, if we have seen Scrum already, that we have the iteration, that is a sprint with the daily stand-up meeting, and we have an iteration backlog that is cut into tasks that are implemented, and then we have, at the end of the iteration wrap-up, we have the increment, that is a consumable solution. That is what in Scrum we call the working product. And here, what we have around this construction of Scrum, before we have the inception, and this is inception goes beyond what Scrum does. And in this, we have the funnel to have all the vision, the different ideas, but as well the founding strategy and choices that will build the stakeholder vision. And initially, we'll have very early in the iterations a proven architecture. Why? Because we have a technical architect, okay, an architect owner that will make sure that the solution we select is viable. We build, and then again, we go beyond the normal Scrum with the transition of deployment into production, operation, and then ensuring that we have these delighted customers. So again, we come back to what we have set as first principle initially. The lean delivery is a bit different because we don't have the rebuilt-in interaction. Even if we have daily work, we are more with a flow of work in progress with the features that come in, and then a feedback to be able to add new work as needed. And of course, the change requests that can be retrofitted into the set of work to be done. So as we see it here, it's instead of a pools of work item, we have a system when we have activity that goes through the flow. And the other life cycles address the same way different needs. But what is interesting is that these life cycles that we have seen, they come into this this picture with Flex being combined with Disciplined Agile. So what is this? Flex is a framework that was developed by Al Shaway of Net Objectives Inc. And with the acquisition of Disciplined Agile, at the same in the same move, PMI acquired Flex, and Al Shaway worked with Scott Marklines in order to combine Flex and Disciplined Agile into a complete consistent solution. And here we see that we have the portfolio management with all the stakeholders for strategy, and the product owner, business architect, product manager, and then the discovery with the architect, and the realization development with the release. Here we have the customers. We adjust from what we learn from them. This is part of the continuous improvement living cycle, the plan, do, study, act, to retrofit into the strategy of the company. So Disciplined Agile and Flex provide to the organization a complete standalone and consistent solution for the organization. And this comes with a set of milestones that we have seen with the life cycle before inception, construction, transition. Here we initiate what we want to do. Before going to construction, we make sure that we have a stakeholder vision. Is the stakeholder okay with what we want to do? And we prove the architecture. Remember the role of the technical owner to make sure that what we build will work. Then the construction, iterative or just flow, depends on the life cycle we want, until we have a sufficient functionality that we can business. And that's the end of the construction, where we move to transition. Is the product ready? Okay, then we can deploy and operate. And at the end, again, what you have seen is make sure that the client is delighted. So this comes with continuous improvement that is more robust, I would say, because it's the guided continuous improvement. What is that? Okay, plan, do, check, act, we know. But here what we have is we identify a problem. We identify the solutions of this problem. We know, in order to make better decisions, remember the process goals. We want to set goals. Which goals should we set? We define an initial set of goals. Then we will amend the goals we set with this guided continuous improvement. We try the solutions because we are allowed to fail early and fail safe, and then we assess the effectiveness of this solution. If it works, okay, let's adopt it. Otherwise, quickly abandon it and try something else. So this comes to the end of the continuous improvement with just this comment that initially when we change, of course, we will lose some of effectiveness and productivity. But then with just continuous improvement, we would move a bit up with the guided continuous improvement, we are much more efficient. So in summary, we have seen that Discipline Agile is comprehensive and address for the overall organization how to be across the board agile in a disciplined way. Means the different teams are interconnected and the choices that are made by the organization in order to improve consistently. And of course, it is with a choice. The choice is made by the organization because no organization is like another one. I thank you very much for your attention. And now I let Fabio let you know what made him wow.
Thank you very much, Jury, for this very interesting recap of the Discipline Agile toolkit. As you said, I want to share my own experience about what I loved while I was studying Discipline Agile, what I love in these days when I start applying Discipline Agile in my teams. So we will see several things that have been described by you. The first one is about the process goal diagrams. So process goal diagrams guide teams to support their need to tailor agile strategies, considering the context. And here the part that I like is the fact that process goals support the need. They don't prescribe, they guide. As you mentioned several times, Discipline Agile is not a framework, but a toolkit. And this really allows the teams to choose and pick the best way to work. And the founders, Scott Ambler and Mark Lyons, read hundreds and hundreds of Agile books, and they crafted these process goal diagrams. So, as I mentioned here, we need less expertise to identify potential strategies we can try in the team. So basically, we are saving time and go directly to the best solution in that context. Because once again, context counts. So we have to consider if our team is big or small, experienced or new in terms of agile. So as you show, here we have several kind of decision point indicating an issue we want to solve. And these kind of diagrams were very useful in practice for several reasons. First of all, they are very good starting point for small agile team in a straightforward environment. Most of the time, there are default options here. But for experienced discipline agilists, first of all, they enhance retrospectives. So the process goals provide a toolkit of potential options that we can choose to experiment with to resolve challenges that were identified by the team. We can use process goals diagrams also as a checklist, especially if you are working in an experienced team. This will help your team to identify potential technique that they can choose to apply in the current situation they're facing. And there's also a way to measure, it's also a way to measure the maturity of the Agile Lean team. Because the options are frequently ordered, these indicate a way, an improvement path for team to potentially follow. And most important, the process goal diagrams and Discipline Agile is not prescriptive. So we can start exactly where we are. The second part that I like is that teams can choose their wow. So once again, as you mentioned, one size does not fit all, context counts. So we don't have one best practice because something works really well in a certain team. This doesn't mean that the same framework, that the same strategy will work in a different context. So once again, choice is good. And we're moving from one best practice to many patterns of good practices. So we need to consider when we are choosing our way of work, the context, because maybe something works for a small team in a fairly easy technical domain. And maybe when the domain change and the team change with a different organizational structure, that solution is not anymore. And as you show, Discipline Agile has many different life cycles. We can start with one, the team then should feel mature to move to another one, or they prefer to move to another one. And then this is not their final decision. They can move to a third life cycle or back to the first one. And there are many selection factors indicated in Discipline Agile for picking the best life cycle. It can depend on the team skills, the team culture, the organizational culture, the nature of the problem or the business constraints. But the good part that you also shown is that, yes, we have a different life cycle, but with common milestones. So we can have a common governance across the different life cycles. And again, this is something that also Dario mentioned at the beginning, be agile and do agile. It happened to me that some agile teams I've worked with, they are very, very focused on the framework they're using. They're somehow a purist of the solution, the life cycle that they have to implement it. But if you remember correctly, 20 years ago, the Agile Manifesto stressed the fact that we focus more on individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And if you're focusing again on the processes and tool much more than individual and interactions, that's not agile. We're missing the mindset to be agile. So Discipline Agile, to me, advocates to have an agile mindset to be agile, the skills, so do agile, and the experience to do enterprise agile. And I wonder for transition to the last part, that was my haha moment. And I will refer an example that was cited by Scott Ambler once. Having a IT developing some software, perfect software in an agile way is like developing an engine for a racing car. It's powerful, it's strong, it fit the purpose. But what happened when you put this perfectly designed engine into a tractor? The tractor is heavy, is slow. Therefore, the full potential of the software, let me say, to the car racing engine is not at its full potential. We need to have this engine within a racing car and working with a proper trained racing team. And this is basically what Discipline Agile Enterprise advocates. So as written here, it's basically the ability to sense and respond to changes in the market way. And we do that through an organizational culture that facilitates change within the context of the solution that we are facing. So we don't need to only have an agile IT. We don't need to have an agile software development. In order to survive and thrive in a VUCA world, we really need to have a disciplined agile enterprise. So a lean and an agile mindset and way of learning across the company. Only in this way we will reach the business agility organizations needs nowadays. So the ability to be adaptive, lean, responsible in order to reach the ultimate goal, which is to survive our disruptive world. So now let me go you quickly through the certification. This is the scheme, the general workflow for a certification. You usually start with being a certified Agilist, DA, and you need to attend any Disciplined Agile class from a CDA, which stands for Certified Disciplined Agile Instructor. So you have the basics there. Then if you want to move into the next level, you can become a Certified Discipline Agilist, a CDA. And to do this, you have to attend a Disciplined Agile Lean Scrum Master class from a CDA, and you have to take and pass the exam within 1 month. So plan properly when to take your class to have enough time to study for taking the exam. And here is the way where you show that you have the knowledge. But in Discipline Agile, you really need to show also that you have experience. So you can move to the next levels. Which are the certifications that you see here in green. So you might become a Certified Discipline Agile practitioner. You don't need to take another exam. It's always the first one that counts. So you have to be CDA first, and then you have to prove that you have 2 years of Agile experience in any role. There will be a reference check, or you can submit your PMI ACP certification to become a CDAP. After this, or instead of becoming a CDAP, if you have the experience in a leading role, then you can become a Discipline Agile Lean Scrum Master, just having your CDA exam taken and showing your experience in a leading role. On top of this, there are 2 more certifications. The first one is the Certified Discipline Agile Coach. Once again, you have to have reached the previous, let's say, green level. But in this case, now you have to gain a 5-year experience in Agile. You have to attend a CDAC for Experienced Agile Coaches workshop, take an exam, do the reference check, and also have a peer-to-peer interview. The CDA is the instructor of all the different trainings we have discussed so far. And to do this, you have to pass a 5-day course with a Disciplined Agile instructor trainer. And of course, you might have the previous certification, being a CDAP or a DAL SM, and perform some administrative tasks. My general idea, what I experienced in my Discipline Agile journey, is that the more you read, the better understanding of the framework, of the toolkit you will have. So as Dario said, we have the Choose Your Wow. And here I put the link where you can access your book in a digital format if you are a PMI member. Here is the book introducing Introduction to Discipline Agile Delivery, a second edition that will be published at the end of June 2020. And there is also an executive guide for senior leaders, which is very interesting to understand a little bit better the Discipline Agile enterprise context. And in terms of reading and knowing more, I would like to highlight to you these 3 blogs. 2 of them are written or managed by Scott Ambler, and the last one is by Al Shalloway, who is the scientist behind DA Flex. So usually here we should have the Q&A. Actually, we are also running out of time, but the good news is that you can send all the questions you have about these presentations, the next presentations, or any doubt you have about Discipline Agile to the email shown here. Do it before the 28th of June, because Scott Ambler, Vice President and Chief Scientist at PMI, will reply. We will have a very interesting chat and discussion based on your questions. So we're waiting for your input in order to have a very constructive Q&A with the DA founder. So thank you very much for attending this session, and we will be waiting for you, Discipline Agile from the field, on the 25th of June at the same time. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dario. Thank you, Jerry.
Goodbye and thank you.